Graham, welcome to the podcast,
Thank you.
or as it is now, actually a YouTube channel, but everybody calls it a podcast, so it's
Okay.
pretty much the same thing. Let's talk about I Have Notes. Congratulations on a very impressive album.
Thank you.
Do you? I know you've played some of the songs live, but do you ever feel like you'd like to tour the whole thing? I know you've got, it's 10cc work, but are you planning to put lots of songs into the set in future?
Yeah, into the heart full of songs
Yeah,
set. Yeah. At the moment, I've got there are 3 songs from the album that I can do
right,
because they actually suit being, the sort of semi-acoustic setting that is heart full of songs. I'd love to do more,
hmm
but the only way I can do that is to extend the band, and that would sort of take away from the whole sort of point of it, which is more of a very intimate acoustic set. But I will be having a look before we do, because we're doing a big tour next year, Heart Full of Songs tour.
right.
I will have another look at seeing if I can do at least 1 or maybe 2 more from the new album. I'd
That
love to do that.
that would be great. I mean, a little later, I'm going to ask you to pick up your guitar because I've been trying to pick through these songs myself on the guitar. I'm a sort of not a great guitarist, but the chords, as ever, are fascinating.
Okay, right, I'll see what I can do.
You know me, I was sort of into chords and
I know you are.
deep into the weeds, so maybe we can get into that. But I guess we need to start with Floating in Heaven,
Yes.
um, which is a wonderful keynote track. I'm just looking recently at a video of the Starmus gig you did with
Yes,
Gouldman and others, which was incredible because you had like a choir and an orchestra.
it was amazing.
Now the world's so far away, the planets are explored. The promise of a brand new day and all that came before. Oh, I look down on our earthly home. It makes our troubles seem so small. I'm floating in heaven, I'm so high.
It was actually in the afternoon. I remember sitting in on the rehearsal with the orchestra,
Right.
and just to hear them play. Well, it was just the backing track, really,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
was absolutely amazing. I absolutely loved it. It's always a thrill to hear your music played by other people,
Mhm.
but particularly when it's in that sort of big setting and like an orchestral version of what you've written is always a massive thrill, I have to say.
Yeah, and hearing the choir, so they were doing what you did. Were they just singing a sustained chord or
Yeah,
something?
well, yes, they were sort of mimicking the choir that I put on the record, which is all me.
Yeah.
And but I thought they did an incredible job. I thought it was great.
Wave the world goodbye. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it sounded wonderful, and of course to have Brian performing with you must
Yeah,
have been.
fantastic.
Have to ask. I mean, all music fans have been shocked recently to hear he's had a health scare, and I hope he's on the road to recovery.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, well, I hope so. Yes,
yeah, so we all wish him well on that.
we
But
do.
okay, let's get into the weeds of the chords, if you don't mind. I've got my guitar as well because
Okay, I'll get mine.
good man. Now, you set out your stall right at the beginning, don't you? Because the second chord is a diminished.
Yeah, well, the first chord,
Oh,
you
okay.
you just played a D, didn't
Is
you?
it not a D? Okay.
No, it's it looks like a D, but the B is open, so it's a sixth.
Of course it is. Yes,
Of course
right.
it is.
Yeah, no, now I hear it. It sounds as clear as day. But
Yeah,
okay, but it's interesting. There's quite a lot of diminished chords on I Have Notes actually.
yeah.
I've,
I'm partial to a diminished chord
yeah,
in its place, you know.
yes, I know. It works particularly well there because it diminished chords can sound different in different contexts, but it sort of immediately opens you up to the, I don't know, the enormity of the universe or something. It's got that no, it has. It's got that
Wow,
mysterious. It's got a mysterious quality straight away, isn't it? Which I
it
think.
has. Well, I mean, the beauty of the sequence is that all you do is just go and then go one fret down and then take everything off.
You mean everything? That's complete, all strings open, you mean? A third chord?
The third, yeah, yes, the top four strings are open.
Oh, I see. Excuse me, my alarm's going off. I beg your pardon. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Fantastic. And okay, here's something else I noticed at the end. Now, I probably haven't got the flavors exactly right, but the end of the song, I think, is it D, E, F sharp, or something similar? Da, 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 da.
Yes, it's D, E, F sharp.
Right, which
Yeah.
is um, which is a chord sequence. Uh, I call it the wax chord sequence, right? Because it's a big part of that song "Holiday" that I know that we're both very fond of,
Yeah, yeah,
and it's also in "Right Between the Eyes" and others. The song's in D, right,
yeah,
pretty much, but there you just fly off into another realm, into F sharp, and it never comes back. It's like you're
yeah.
sending the James Webb Telescope
Well,
into
yes, there's this sort of feeling of floatiness, you know. I
yeah.
suppose that's what I wanted to create, and of course the that da, 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 and then it goes to the minor for the
Oh, I didn't need.
bridge.
I didn't. Oh, yes, right. The bridge, right? Yes, F sharp minor. So that's
Yeah,
yeah.
which is something I sort of tend to do the tonic to the minor of the same chord but in a minor, the minor chord of it.
Obviously, you also performed Heartful of Soul there.
Yeah.
Whose choice was that?
Okay, so when Brian asked me to go over to Armenia to do the Starmus Festival,
Hmm.
initially the idea was to do Floating in Heaven because the Starmus Festival is a sort of combination of celebration of science and music. So that song was going to be perfect for that. And then he said, "It's daft you coming over and just doing one song. Can we do um, Heartful of Soul and For Your Love as well?"
Oh,
I
you did
said,
For Your Love. I didn't.
"We did For Your Love as well, yeah."
Oh,
Uh, so that was great. And of course, we also had Simon Phillips had the sort of house band rhythm section there as well. So it was great playing with them.
yeah. Because when was the last time you played with Simon Phillips? I know he drummed on Survivor and Tomorrow's.
Yes, he did. Well, that was probably the last time
Oh,
that I'd actually seen him. So it was lovely to meet up with him and play with him again.
no, wonderful to hook up with him. And yeah, I guess Brian must have relished playing the solo on Heartful of Soul. Gave
Yeah,
him a
because
good
he loved
chance.
those songs. I mean, when we had lots of chats about music and musical and inspirations, and no, he was a big fan of those songs.
Right, I'm going to skip right to my absolute favourites now because why not? No, this is a song you wrote with Ian called "When You Find Love,"
Yes,
which is absolutely gorgeous, if I may say so. And
thank you.
it's chock full of chords, but it sort of proceeds at this very stately pace. You know, it just gradually moving, shifting the chords around, and the way it works is lovely. I spoke or messaged Ian a couple of days ago. As you know, he's actually in
Yeah, he's
Canada.
on tour.
He's in Canada with ELO at the moment, I think. And he said, yeah, I think you'd started it, and he said, wow, I really want to work on this one.
Yeah, it
Can you
was. Yeah,
explain?
it was a. I had the
Yeah.
When you find love, treat it with care. Something so precious, something so rare. Hold like a pearl. Say.
I had that, and I had other musical parts as well. But Ian really sort of, I just had it and didn't think about it, you know. But sometimes it takes someone else to go, "Oh, that's really good," you know.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what happened with that. And yes, and we finished it together.
Yeah, it's fabulous. I particularly like. I mean, all the chords are good. I mean, I don't know how, I haven't counted them up, but there's
Don't count them up.
no, but it's one of those songs. It doesn't sound like a showy thing. You know, it's not like an iceberg where you're kind of, throwing
No,
in.
nothing's like iceberg.
Well, that's true. That is a unique experience, isn't it? But everything flows very, very wonderfully. But again, you've got the diminished chord there. Let me see. So these aren't exact, so apologies if they're which is a lovely chord. That's like
When you find love.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's the diminished there, isn't it?
yeah.
Probably reading too much into this, but I like this part. Just let me find it. The middle, which is great as well. And again, apologies, these won't be exact, but etc. Right, so A major 7 and then going to the minor. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And that change to the minor on the word when loss makes us feel. I mean, it's
Yeah.
probably instinctive, but the word loss notes the change from the major to the minor.
Yes, and that's something as a writer I wouldn't even think about.
I'm
It
sure you
wasn't
wouldn't.
intentional. It was just, I know what you mean. It's that kind of a bit of luck, because the word lost has a sort of melancholiness about it, and the going to the minus seems to suit it.
Yeah, I know. I know you didn't sit down and think that. That would be ridiculous. But sometimes you have to wonder how these things work. You know,
Yeah,
maybe instinctively that was the moment to either make that change or come up with that lyric. I don't know.
yeah. I think, well, I mean, Ian did quite a lot of the lyric as well, so maybe that was,
Ah,
he needs to be credited for that.
okay. Well, if so, great moment. And again, at the end, it's the wax chord sequence again.
Yeah,
You knew I was going to say that. And that's a major seventh, is it? When you find love. Is that
yeah,
C major 7?
yeah. C major 7 to D.
D. Very clever. And you're kind of longing for it to. You're longing for it to go there, but it
Yeah,
never
it
does.
doesn't. It carries on and leaves you in
Yeah.
midair, so to speak. Yeah.
If you ever, is that one of the ones that you'd think about performing? I'd love to hear that one.
It's one. It's not one that we're doing. I did an album launch at the Pizza Express. We did 3 nights there actually,
Yeah.
and it's. As I said before, we did the sort of ones that really suited that setting. But if there was another song, well, one of the other songs I would like to do, that When You Find Love would be one of them.
Great. Well, I'll
I
put
think it will. I think it will work in a, without. It's very much a song. So,
yes.
if something works, as it's not production.
Yeah.
say. So as I think all of them are all songs as opposed to like production reliant. But I would certainly consider doing that. I'd like to do it.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, a great song is a great song, and it will work in any environment. So
It should do, yes, even with like one guitar.
yeah, exactly. Love that one. My absolute favorite, actually, is Celestial Light.
Wow. Okay.
That is my favorite song on the record. I think it's absolutely gorgeous musically. And I have to ask, did you consider putting a vocal on that? Because it could, obviously it's an instrumental, but it could be such a wonderful song with lyrics. But I guess it didn't go
I've
that.
never considered that actually. It was always an instrumental to me. But
Okay.
yeah, another kind of sort of space themed. I was in the mood to you know, I was up there, so I guess it was. I started actually pretty much the same time as I did as we did Floating in Heaven, and then I developed it as time went on and put the middle part to it, which I wanted to kind of have a really big contrast in the music when the middle part comes in, which I think I achieved.
Do you mean the bit where Mike Stevens plays the flute?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that is the sonically the texture there is great. I mean, it's a unique texture within the entire album, and I
yeah.
love
It is. Yeah, and yeah, I'd been listening to quite a lot of Vaughan Williams, and I was sort of that was my. I'm not going to compare myself to Vaughan Williams in a billion years. However, he was my inspiration for that style of those chords, you know, and that sort of melody. It was very sort of like British. I don't know how else
yeah,
to describe it.
yeah,
It has a kind of a pride to it.
yeah, and like a pastoral feeling as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
completely get the Vaughan Williams. Yeah, I mean, I haven't, I didn't even try and work out the middle part because the chords are moving so fast and they're so subtle. But the combination of that and Mike's flute, really gorgeous.
yeah.
That whole track could go on a lot longer for me because I was expecting that lovely middle part to come back, but obviously it never does.
It doesn't. Well, that would be a mistake, I think.
Will it? Okay,
Yeah.
fair
It
enough.
just, you know, as with anything with writing, it's all to do with gut feeling.
Of course, yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
you can't look and say, oh, well, you're supposed to repeat this part because it's for some reason, but you just go, I just went, I've done it. You know, it's like it happened and it's gone.
yeah. No, fine. Again,
Do a
leaves you.
remix of it then.
Well, I just play it for my own enjoyment at home on what I can of it on the
Yeah,
guitar. I'm quite happy with that. Um, that's also got those voice choirs. Is that
yeah,
all you again?
yes. Yeah,
Okay.
we read it with, you know, I produced a lot of the tracks with Graham Pleath.
Yeah.
So I'd already had some of that choir that we used for Floating in Heaven, but we
Right.
needed, because of the key of this of Celestial Light, I sort of had to record some more notes. But we've got that, you know, stashed away to use
Yeah.
that musical instrument of the
Yes.
voices, and it's an amazing sound, I must say. It was actually really interesting doing it again, and obviously we're copying what we did with I'm Not in Love.
Yes, of course. But I
Exactly
mean,
the same principle, but it sounds different because it's all me,
yeah.
and it's probably more. It has the same atmosphere, though, I think.
Oh, it definitely does. How many overdubs are on there for each note, do you know?
I did maybe 4 for each note, but of
Right.
course with other effects and things and reverberation and stuff, you can make it sound sound bigger. But I think, you know, if you isolate it, it sounds fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, it works great, and I've never thought of that, but yeah, now you mention it, it's an obvious companion piece with Floating in Heaven, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Works really well. Um, what else have we got here? There's lots, but can't mention them all. We're Alive,
yeah,
which I heard you play on Front Row, wasn't it? That was a
yeah.
live.
The front row. Yeah, we did that. Yes,
It sounded great, and I'm guessing that must be one of the ones you'd play in Heartful
definitely.
Songs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because it really suits the you know, it will work with just a small band.
yeah,
You know, the only problem what I did at the Pizza Express, because of the solo in that and the solo in If You Love Me, Say You Love Me Tonight.
yeah,
Um, I wanted to keep my acoustic, my rhythm going. So
right.
Nick Kendall, who occasionally plays with 10cc, came down and joined us on a few of the numbers, and it was absolutely brilliant. He really nailed those solos because he
Right.
was like copying Albert Lee and Gordon Kennedy, respectively, their
Yeah,
songs.
yeah. So we
They
had to
did a
get.
great job. So I mean, in the Heartful of Song show that we do, I'll do it, but it won't be quite the same. But I'll do my best.
It'll come over. It's a really lovely up song, and
Yeah, I really like it a lot. It was a joy to write. Like a lot of the best songs I've written or co-written, it was really done really quickly. And Beth Nielsen Chapman and Gordon Kennedy, who I've written with many times before, we've got a really good chemistry together, and we always come up with something that's good. I mean, I love working with both of them.
yeah. Is Beth based in Nashville like
Yes,
Gordon? Okay,
yes, as is Gordon. But we wrote the song at her house. I went over to Nashville last year, and we wrote it there.
right. It's great. Again, it's got a lot of simple diatonic chords, and then you've got this thing where something like that, where you're
Yeah,
going G, D over F sharp, E minor, I think, but then you've got the kind of chromatic descent.
the F to E.
Yeah, yeah. Was that whose idea was that? Was it yours?
No, that was Beth, because
Oh,
I had the
right.
and I'd just carried on.
Yeah,
I'd have done something like that, but
right.
she put in that F, which like was wow, fantastic.
Okay, it's a great change.
Yeah, it's a
D sharp,
brilliant change, genius
D,
change, I think.
yeah, D over F sharp to D minor over F. It's like you get that change in Natural Woman. Carole King does it in Natural
Yeah,
Woman.
yeah. So
And
it's a da, 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 F da,
yeah,
da, E7,
yeah,
A
yeah, that E7's because I was expecting it to go to the E minor there, but it doesn't. It goes to
no,
the well, nice one, Beth. Or
yeah, yeah. No credit to Beth for that.
yeah, I mean, she's obviously a wonderful songwriter in her
Yeah,
own right.
brilliant writer.
Of course, have to mention "Couldn't Love You More," which features Ringo, of
Yeah,
course. And that was written with Phil. Is that
with
right?
Phil Thornall. Yeah, I had that at the beginning.
Yeah, yeah,
So I already had that, but yeah, Phil came up with other parts, and he's a very good arranger as well. But as we were recording it, it was so blatantly Beatles that
oh, yeah,
there
yeah.
was I said I got to ask Ringo to play on this, but she did.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, and it must have been a thrill, of course. I know he's recorded with you before, but
Yeah,
I was listening to, you can hear that bit where he goes to the ride cymbal just subtly, and
yeah,
it sounds just like "Don't Let Me Down." Of
yeah.
course it does, because it's Ringo playing. It's exactly the same way he
I know,
plays it.
but it's something about there was something about the kick as well. It was just such a great great
Yeah.
sound. And he's so on it, you know. He's what can I say? He's a king.
He is. I can't help wondering what it would have been like if you'd asked him to play the drums on "I'm Lazy." That would have been.
Oh yeah, that would have been interesting.
I wanna get up in the morning. I'm lazy, I wanna sleep all night and day yawning. My friends all agree I'm a hopeless case, and so.
But this was a no-brainer, really.
Yeah, of course. So speaking of which, "I'm Lazy," which of course was unearthed by the Strawberry Archive.
That's right.
And I remember playing it to you, or myself and Sean playing it to you, along with "Important to Believe," which I've read another interview with you where you said you were kind of dissatisfied with the lyrics on that song more than the music.
I found it a little bit arch, a bit preachy. I don't know. There was something. I mean, I like it musically.
Yeah.
Particularly like the da 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 da.
The middle bit.
But so that's something that with which may crop up at some point, may be used at the right time when you're writing something else and your brain says, oh, by the way, I think you should try putting this bit in, which happens quite a lot. So I didn't want to use that. But "I'm Lazy" was a real surprise because I thought about the lyric to it, although it's not completely autobiographical. I would say that it occurred to me that it was a song about depression that I had no idea about. I wasn't conscious of being depressed at the time of writing it or anything like that at all. But one can look at it and think, this guy can't get out of bed because he's depressed.
Yeah, I think that's noticeable. It's all the more powerful because it starts off as a very light. The title is a misdirection, a deliberate misdirection, isn't it?
Oh yes. There's lazy and there's why are you lazy?
Yeah.
What's the cause of the laziness?
A fabulous song with lots of interesting parts. Two entirely separate middle eights, which are both great.
Yeah.
Musically, and so if I remember correctly, I mean, as you know, the original recording in 1982, which we think was just you and Paul probably on drums.
It was, yes.
With a full-blown, elaborate recording. Was that at the stage where you already felt it wasn't going to get on a 10cc record, or
I don't really know why it didn't make the whatever album we were recording at the time.
Windows in the Jungle.
All right. Well, then for some reason it didn't, and I can't remember why it didn't.
Yeah, I mean that to be fair, I suppose that album does have a concept, about,
maybe that it didn't fit in, but never showed itself on any subsequent albums. But I'm glad that it was unearthed and I was able to do it. I actually recorded it once and wasn't happy about it, and took it to Phil Thornalley to have a fresh look at it and what we're gonna, what do you think? Because there was something about the first recording that I did with Graham Pleath. When I listened to it, just something, I couldn't even put my finger on it. It just didn't feel right. I loved the vocal that I did and everything else was fine, but there was some aspect of it I didn't like. And giving it to Phil, suddenly it kind of came alive a bit more, but with what Phil did, or with what Phil took out, actually.
Okay.
The stuff that we took out can be as important as what you put in.
Agreed. And Phil plays drums on it, doesn't he?
Yes, but it's really simple.
Yeah, but I know he's a good drummer. I know he doesn't.
No, it's good.
He doesn't consider himself, a technically advanced drummer, but he's got a great feel, and that is just what was required on the track.
Yeah. so I think it worked out, you know, very well indeed.
I agree. It's wonderful that the song's finally out there, which
Yeah,
is which
yeah.
is nice. Christmas Affair.
Oh, right. Yeah, one of my favorites.
Season to be jolly, of mistletoe and holly.
Let's be relaxed, laissez-faire, and have ourselves a Christmas affair. We won't.
Yeah, well, speaking of remakes, I read an interview with you where you mentioned that Ariella was going to sing on it. Is that right?
Well, if you listen to the lyric, it's a rather cheeky
Yeah.
kind of lyric.
Yeah.
So I thought there's only one that, you know, I've got to ask Ariella if she fancies singing it, because obviously we have super technology that can, bless her, she's lots of things, but she's not a singer. But I thought it was worth a shot, and she did give it a good old try, but I'm afraid it wasn't to be. So I was thinking, racking my brains, who can I get to do it? Because it's obviously, it does work if you sing it on your own, but it works much better as a duet, obviously. And I thought Beth would be great because she's a friend, and I know she'll be up for it if she likes the song. But I did get, I said to Ariella, is it okay? I did get her blessing on it because, yeah, I didn't want any problems.
Well,
but anyway, she's a good sport, Ariella, and she was absolutely fine with it. And I really love the way it's turned out. And it was another track that I was lucky enough to have Jamie Salisbury, Chris Hill, and Ralph Salmons play on, and they played on That's Love Right There.
I was just going to ask. It has to be
recorded in the same studio, which is just around the corner from where I live, which is absolutely brilliant. Yeah, and I think it's just I love it. You know.
Yeah, it's great. I hope the version with Ariella, you've still got it privately, have you?
No, it never even made.
Oh dear.
No, there's no version of it, and Ariella will be very thankful for that, I think.
Yeah, it's time for me to go. That's become a real earworm for me, that one.
I think good.
Yeah, you know, it's just one of those songs that I keep. What is it? Past couple of days, what is this fragment of a song I've got in my head? And then I realise, oh, it's that. It's still there. You know, so it's locked in.
It was one of those songs that well, I wrote it with Graham Pleath, and one of those songs which he was just sort of messing around on the piano, and it was like, "What's that?" He said, oh, what do you mean? He said that da 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 da. It was just a simple thing, but it sort of touched a nerve, you know, and then we just wrote the song. And obviously, as the lyric was being written, I realised that it was autobiographical as well. You know, about being on. I mean, in the simplest of terms, about being away from home and you know missing your wife, but your other love is playing with the band.
Yeah, and I know you get on so great with the 10cc boys, and it's such a pleasure. You can see that all of you, the chemistry comes over on stage. It's visible and I guess
that's really important, and well, you obviously notice it. I mean, people do notice it. I mean, people say, like, when we come off stage, you know, for me, you look like you're really enjoying yourself, as if like we shouldn't really enjoy ourselves. Well, but we always do. It's important. It's important for us, but it's more important that the audience recognises that.
It's right. It definitely does come across. And then, of course, we've got Henry Priestman.
There once was a little ukulele, very sad.
I got into. I had the song. I had most of the lyric as well, but I had one part I couldn't get the lyric. It was in the middle part of the song. And I called Henry. I said, "Do you fancy help me on this?" Which he did. Graham Pleath actually has some very nice vintage guitars, and I always have a bit of a go of him by saying, "What? Let's get them out. Let's play them." So he's really sort of protective of them, which I understand because they're worth quite a lot of money.
Yeah.
But I'd say, like instruments need playing. That's what gives them life.
Yeah, I think it's a lovely story because that story on its own, or that idea wouldn't necessarily lend itself to an interesting song. But when you've almost kind of personified the ukulele and the kids coming back years later and bringing it back to life. I think that exemplifies the story of instruments being put to good use. So
correct, and giving pleasure and love. And there's also a video that Kevin Godley made a video for that, which we'll put it out later in the year.
Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah,
will
really
that be...
simple, like the song. Really, it's quite a simple song, but I think it has a charm to it. It's actually that's one of the songs I do in the set.
Yeah, and
because it's easy to do.
Do you play it on ukulele?
Yeah, I play ukulele on it,
yeah.
And like Keith will do the da 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 that part on a keyboard. We actually have to compromise certain things, but the effect is there.
You should. I've just thought of this. You could send it over to what are they called? The Ukulele Orchestra of Great Britain or something.
Well, actually, I did send it to Joe Brown.
Right.
But Joe sadly is not working at the moment. He's not that well, but he did like it. But I thought he'd be great for it because he's a ukulele guy.
He's a terrific uke player, isn't he? Okay, well, maybe in the future. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm just a couple of things on the album artwork, which is marvelous. Is it who did the artwork?
Storm Studios.
Right.
Who were Hypnosis.
Right. That's not Aubrey Powell though, is it? Because they
No, it's not Aubrey. No, Peter Curzon.
Right.
So
okay.
they've their whole ethos is the same as when Storm was alive. So there were times when we were doing certain things and we were going, what would Storm say about this? Would he be okay with this?
If it was an expensive shoot, he probably would have been. So
yeah.
You're not in New Mexico, are you? Because you look like you've stepped out of Better Call Saul there with
No, I'm not. I was in North London somewhere, I think.
Oh, so you're not really in a desert?
No, I'm not really in a desert.
Oh, that's a shame.
Don't tell anybody that I didn't go to. It's actually a desert in a place called Amboy. You might have heard of the Amboy Dukes, a band. No, probably a bit before your time. Anyway, that's a desert. The desert was important that we had a desert.
Right.
But well, you might know that. Well, the idea is that that the desert is the sort of blank page you have before you create something.
Right.
That's what it represented.
Okay, so the days of the Hypnosis kind of exorbitant shoots are over then. I thought I had lovely thoughts that they'd flown you out to New Mexico.
No, as you say, if Storm was alive, we probably would have done.
Yeah, okay. And the scroll that's
But actually, that was one of the questions that I asked. I said, would Storm be okay with this? So they said, absolutely.
Oh, okay, right. And the scroll that's being handed down, of course, is For Your Love. I got a magnifying glass out, and that's the
well
music.
done.
We need the vinyl. It was impossible on any other sort of media, but which is, of course, entirely appropriate because it set the whole thing off.
Of course.
Right. Thank you, Graham, for talking about I Have Notes. I really appreciate it, and it's a lovely record, and I hope it's the sort of thing that's got legs. I'm sure I'm sure it'll build up a head of steam when you start touring with it next year. And
yeah, I think it will. I'm really proud of it. I have to say, one thing I want to say about it though. I had no intention of making an album because I only put out Modesty Forbids. It seems like 2 or 3 years ago. But what happened was, once I started working with Brian on Floating in Heaven, I seemed to sort of get into the the groove of sort of, started coming up with stuff and recording it. And I thought, well, it's a bit early, isn't it? And then I thought, well, sod it. What, who cares really? Not going to change the world either way. And so just go for it. And I think maybe because of that, it had a sort of laissez-faire attitude to things that it worked out really well. Of course, as soon as I started recording it, then it got very intense, with who I was going to work with, and because it's quite varied. I mean, I work with quite a few different people. Lucky enough to have all the people that I asked to contribute, Hank Marvin, Albert Lee, Ringo. Very lucky, feel very fortunate that they agreed to do it. But I was very careful I wouldn't ask something. Obviously, I'm going to ask somebody to do something that I think they would like. But I always say, it's absolutely not, if you don't want to do it, I want you to really want to do this. If you don't, then it's absolutely fine. But everybody said yes.
Right, Graham, what can I say? I hope I haven't taken too much of your time.
No, it's fine. I've enjoyed talking to you, Paul.
Okay, I hope I didn't get too much into details. But
what's a boy to do?
Yeah, I know. When you're a fan, you're a fan. I say. Thank you ever so much.
Okay,
Thank you so
all the best,
much.
Paul. Cheers.
All the best.
All the best.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye.